The Seattle Mariners were able to salvage the final game of the Pittsburgh Pirates series. Joe and I are going to go over all three games in this series. We're then going to talk about Joe's thoughts on if the Mariners still have a chance at this thing, because we got my thoughts the other day. We're going to get Joe's thoughts now and how he's feeling. We're going to wrap it all up by talking about the Los Angeles Dodgers series coming up on the day that we're posting this. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 114 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network, available on all your podcast platforms. Be sure to give us a 5-star review. And this is the Alex Hopley episode. Please tell me if I didn't say that right. I apologize if I didn't. But Alex Hopley, it's your episode. Congratulations. And I'm here with Joe. Joe, how are you?
I'm feeling good, man. It's a Sunday. The Mariners got a dub. They went a week's time without getting like a win. Like that's weird to think about, given like an off day, whatever. But literally the last time we saw them win was Sunday Night Baseball up until today, which it's a gross thought, but I'm happy that they salvaged the game. And sure, the first two, we kind of had those expectations going in, like how poor the offense looked against Detroit. We knew that the first game was against Paul Skeens, so it's kind of like, okay, did we really expect us to like sweep this series? Not necessarily, but probably should have won this one ultimately. And the Pirates coming in, losers of 10 games in a row. We let them break that streak, which is just, I don't know. I just feel like the last like week and a half of the Mariners, it's just like almost like a comedy of errors that for like I am able to just kind of disconnect. And it's probably because they've lowered my expectations. I'm just able to disconnect and kind of laugh, right? I have no idea what to expect in the upcoming series. The final game, they won what, 10-3? Sure. Like I don't know with this team night in and night out what they're going to give us. And I don't know what to transition to Bet Online. So here's Bet Online. Thank you to Bet Online for being a sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. The end of the MLB season is right around the corner, so teams are definitely ramping up for the playoff push. And with that, also, the NFL season is approaching soon. Preseason has already started. New Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald potentially leading the Seahawks to a great season. And you can find all the best online betting trends with Bet Online. They've got every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Head to the website to get in on the action. Use promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online. The game starts here. Colton, you called this a generational pitching matchup, and someone on our TikTok commented, generational? That's laughable, or something along the lines, calling Logan Gilbert not generational. Okay, who topped 100 in the first inning? Okay, random TikTok commenter that I don't remember. Logan Gilbert, I felt like pitched okay in this game. Not his best, but well enough to like maybe have a chance in this one. We did get to Paul Skeens early. Luke Raley with an absolute nuke. Nuke Raley showing up big time. Gets a 2-run bomb in the fourth. Pirates get one back in the bottom of the fourth, but then two more do come across there. There was some errors made in this game, which are not great. Cal, notably on a throw. Like, I don't know how to feel about throwing errors from like the catcher all the time. Like, sometimes I feel like the defender that's receiving the ball could have made a better play on it. Like, whatever. He didn't throw it near the bag enough. And then Polanco, Logan Gilbert also had one there. So it's like not the cleanest game. We kind of anticipated them losing this one, I think, to begin with. Like, sure, you got the Skeens, you tagged him for 2. You're feeling okay about your chances, but unfortunately, Pirates do score 5 in this one. You lose 5-3. There was a little bit of some hope maybe at the end of the game. Polanco hit a home run off of Bednar. And then he proceeded to strike out the side after Luke Raley got a hit right after, which was really good. Colton, your thoughts on game 1?
Yeah, Logan Gilbert was just better. Suck it, random TikTok person. Logan Gilbert got 1 more out, walked 2 less batters. He gave up 5 hits to Paul Skeens 3. Oh. Well, he walked less batters and got 1 more out. So suck it. Logan Gilbert's better. Yeah, this game specifically, I mean, the only guys to get hits in this game, Julio had 2 knocks, Jorge Polanco, like you said, had the home run, and Luke Raley went 2 for 3 in this one with the home run as well. That's it. The end. And like you said, there were some. Was that the Domingo Herman game, or was that game 2?
That's game 2.
Okay, got you. So yeah, so in that game, oh, that was the Chapman game, right? Um, so Chapman came in and basically their bullpen's decent. Like
Yeah,
when you have
there's
Chapman,
arms.
Kyle Nicholas has been good, David Bednar's been bumpy, but when he's good, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, he did strike out the side. So yeah, I don't know. We saw um the offense for the Pirates was something I guess I wasn't expecting necessarily.
Mm.
Yasmani Grandal going 2 for 4 with a homer in this game. Yaz clutchy Grandinger. You know what I mean? Like, as I know him well from my MLB The Show days,
Yeah.
kind of caught me off guard. But going into game 2, Joe, you start to feel a little bit better about that one because you're not facing Paul Skeens. And it was just straight up worse facing Bailey Falter, who struck out 8.
Yeah. His strikeouts per 9 going into that game, I think, were less than 6. Like, very, very suboptimal strikeouts per 9. Like, he's just not a strikeouts guy. I think that's another situation where we set his like season high, maybe his career high. I don't remember. Again,
He tied it.
some sort of repressed memory here or there with this series, specifically this game. Castillo just didn't have his stuff. Didn't have the best in this one. 5 and a third, 5 hits, 4 earned, 3 walks, 6 Ks, 2 homers. Homer, was it the first batter of the game?
Yep.
Mr. Isaiah Kiner Falefa. So that's always a great guy to give up a home run to. I don't know, dude. Like you scratch one back in the second inning because like Robles gets a hit with some runners on. Like I don't know. Like the team they put together 8 hits in this one. Just you only get 2 runs to show for it. They do strike out 14 times. Randy Arozarena accounting for 5 of those 14 goes 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. Very, very bad performance from him. Also a play later in the game where he's going to catch a ball and then the wind just says no. No, you won't. And then it just bounces into this like it's just a lazy, lackadaisical game from a lot of the guys. But Robles checks in with 2 hits. Polanco gets 2 hits. Julio goes 1 for 4. Haniger goes 2 for 2. Like there are some guys in here that did okay. Dylan Moore, I think you tweeted about it. 0 for 4, 3 of those looking. Just can't have it. Like there's so many just spurts of incompetence that will prevent you from winning baseball games night in and night out. I'd say the second game in this Pirate series was one of them that had some of the most in recent memory.
That's the game that broke me. Like that game specifically, the sweep from the Tigers, obviously, but game 2 was the one that I that was at the game where afterwards I went on and just did a talking head video to you guys who said, here it is. Here's where we're at. Like I have no faith in this team right now. And that's how I felt, and that's kind of how I still feel. And I think that there's nothing really good that came out of game 2. I mean, Troy Taylor had a good outing. Taylor Saucedo shouldn't be on this team right now.
Yeah, he is continuing to give, unfortunately, poor performance after poor performance. Like there has to be someone that you can replace him with that you'd feel more confident in to go get an out. I mean, like I don't know what the hesitation is.
Yeah, he's the worst guy in your bullpen right now, which sucks. I love Sauce.
Mm-hmm.
He's just the worst pitcher in your bullpen right now. I don't know how Gabe's doing down in AAA. Like if he is, been pitching well or not, I have no idea. But going into game 3, Joe, today, the day we were recording this, I told myself I'm not going to watch this game. I'm not going to do it. And there I was at work, tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
And as I clicked on the watch game button, I saw Cal rounding the bases, and I'm like, suck me right back in.
Yeah, that's how they get you. As soon as you think you're gone, they pull you right back in. I'm surprised you brought up Domingo Herman and then just like didn't want to talk about it in game 2. But like, yeah, he loads the bases. Bednar comes in and then shuts the door. I mean, they're down 5. It would have taken, I mean, a grand slam doesn't tie the game, right? But to get the bases loaded and to not score any is pretty typical Mariners in that situation.
Speaking of guys who shouldn't be on a baseball team, Domingo Herman.
There you go. That's a good transition. Yeah, game 3, with these East Coast start times. I mean, I'm at work in the morning on Sunday, so I missed about 90% of this game, and then I tuned into like the last little bit and kind of like watched stuff as it kind of developed at the end to make sure I could talk about it on stream. But it's a guy in Woodford that you should have tagged for as many runs that they did, right? Cal gets his 27th homer, closing in on. I mean, he's one away from, I think, passing Johnny Bench in that stat that people keep posting about home runs by a catcher in their first 4 years or whatever, closing in on his career high as well. But Kirby, I felt like he pitched well enough in this game. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 Ks. I mean, 2 walks is like, Kirby's mad about that, but that's enough to win a baseball game. And of course, the Mariners decide to drop 10. So it was more than enough. It was more than enough in this game, but 13 hits. You only strike out 7 times as a team in this one. It's a night and day performance from the previous 2 games from the Tigers series. This looked more like the Sunday night baseball team, which is also inherently the problem because you're so unbelievably inconsistent right now that like you have no idea what version of this team you're going to get on a nightly basis, which cannot happen with 37 games to go.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that Randy Arozarena got the day off.
Yes, he needed it.
He needed it. He started out hot for the Mariners, but he's definitely cooled off. Justin Turner had also cooled off. He did get a hit in today's game as well. But yeah, it's just like it's so improbable as to like how bad this offense is that it's laughable. Like I think, and I may have already said this in like in the video or something like that, but we keep saying nobody could have predicted this. But I tweeted, nobody could have predicted this, says the fan base of the team where it predictably happens every single year.
Yeah.
Like here we are, we're sitting here in 2024 and we're having the same conversations we had at this time last year. Same thing. And it's like, what do you do? Like, I kind of laid it out in that video yesterday, so I don't want to go too far into it. But yeah, we had George, he looked pretty good until about the 5th inning. And that's, I believe, where he gave up the 2-run 6th inning. He gave up the 2 runs in the 6th inning. Colin Snyder came in, had a really good inning.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Taylor came in, had another great inning as well. So good for him. They've been using him in, I guess, more. They've given him a soft landing, which is good, and he's succeeded.
Yeah.
For the most part, which I think is very good to see. Everybody in this game, every single starter got a hit. Demo came in as a pinch runner for Jorge Polanco, did score a run. But yeah, all the starters had a hit in this game. We had Josh Rojas and Dom Canzone both go deep, which was nice to see. You talked about Cal's home run, another 2-for-3 game for Luke Raley. Victor Robles, 2-for-4 in this one. There were worries that this game was going to get delayed of some kind, and I'm very glad that it did not because it was a little iffy there for a little bit. It was pouring rain. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, a good way to finish up that game, because if you get swept 2 series in a row by some mediocre baseball teams, I mean, I think everybody is at the point now where it's like, whatever. Like we have thrown the team out like for this year. Like I'm borderline, like if they go on a hot streak, I'll be right back there. I'll be right back to where I was, stupidly optimistic. But right now I've just given so much of my optimism to this team and been hurt for it. I just don't think that I just don't think that I can do it right now. But after I made the video yesterday, Joe, I wanted to get your thoughts on where you think this team is going and if they have even a chance to sniff the playoffs this year.
Before I give like my piece, I have a question. Was there some sort of catharsis in like making that and like posting that and like speaking? Like, did it feel nice to not like just like maybe not like unfiltered, but like I guess like my question is like the intention, right? The intention is to just like kind of like lay it out very plainly, like this is where I'm at, and I like that's good that like there's some sort of like relief in that for you, and like for anybody that is maybe like I want to say like teetering on the fence of like, oh, like I don't know like how I feel about the team, like blah blah. Like sometimes like taking a step back from where you're normally at and just kind of like looking at it can help, and I think that's kind of what you did. Like you removed yourself from what you normally do and just kind of like laid it out.
I went into the video with certain points I wanted to make. And as I was making those points, more stuff came to mind of like what I wanted to say and where I was at with the team. And I think in the end, it kind of wrapped a nice bow on my feelings about the team right now and, kind of where I'm at. Because, hey, like I said in the video, like I have always been a Jerry DePoto and Scott Service defender. I always have been. But if at the end of the day, baseball teams are supposed to win championships. This team hasn't. And if that means that these guys have to go, I completely understand. Um, I personally will be shocked if Scott Service is back next year.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Jerry Dipoto, I'm a little more on the fence about in like the front office because I think that they've done well with what they've been given. You guys can watch the video. Get to Joe's thoughts. You guys don't need to hear me say it again.
So I talked a little bit about this on stream. How I kind of go about my like day to day with this team, right? I turn on the game and my full expectation for why I'm watching the game is I hope that they win. I'm never going into watching a game with the hope that they lose. Do I think that it's in the possibility? Of course, they either win or they lose. Those are the two outcomes. That's plain, like very black and white. Like that is my thought process going into a game. Every single time I turn on the TV, that is my thought. Like, oh, they have a chance to win this game. I'm never going to be the person that like turns it on and be like, they're losing this one. Like, if I did, I would, me personally, not if people out there do that, that's their thing. If I
You're
did that,
miserable.
I would be miserable, is what I'm saying. Like, I would not have a good time being a fan of this team. With 37 games to go, you're 4 games out of the division. You are, what, 4.5 out of the wild card? I'm not ready to, like, I'm not giving up. You have 37 games. I'm not giving up because that's just, like, how my brain works. Do I have hope? Do I have faith that they're going to, like, make up that ground? They've not shown me anything to provide that. It is my almost, like, blind faith that would lead me to that point. Am I dumb for doing that? Yeah, probably. But, like, as me, when I turn on the game, what other option do I have for how I watch it? I don't think I have one. Because I'm not going to watch the game if I think they're going to lose. Or if I hope that they lose. Like, I'm not going to sit there and spite watch the baseball team. That, to me, isn't a healthy way for me to, like, watch this team. Right? Again, is it probably ill-advised, ignorant? Yeah. And that's okay. Because I've, like, accepted, like, that is where I'm at with this team. The previous stretch of, you know, losing to the Tigers, beating the Mets, getting swept by the Tigers, losing the first 2 to the Pirates, like, I am well enough removed from, like, my very, like, attachment to the team that, like, I don't really care of the outcome of the game. Like, I didn't, like, really get all bent over. Whoa. Bent out of shape is the term. Bent out of shape.
Hold on.
Pause. Bent out of shape over the second game against the Pirates. It was an ugly game. Did I enjoy watching any second of it? Not really. But I still watched it and had hope that they would win. Because that's what I do every single time I watch the Mariners. That's just where I'm at. Do I think they have a chance? Why not? And the reason why not is very plainly, they have the worst batting average in all of baseball. They have the highest strikeout percentage of any offense in all of baseball. Their WRC plus, sure, they slug well. They slug well enough to maybe make up for the batting. Compared to the White Sox, which is never a comparison you want to make, they are a worse batting average team, but they slug 20 points better. So there's that aspect of the offense where it's like, okay, they can do that if they can raise the batting average somehow, if they can cut down on the strikeouts. But we've been playing that what if game the entire year. We're 37 games away from the end of this season, and they have not remedied those errors. Why do I continue to believe? Because I don't know any other way to, like, be a fan at this point. Like, if I'm hoping that they're going to come out and lose every game out of spite because I'm mad at the front office for not doing enough, or I'm mad at the ownership for not giving the front office enough money to spend, or I'm mad that Scott Service had Luis Castillo go back out there for the 6th inning and it implodes. Like, yeah, those are reasonable things to complain about. I just cannot, for me, digest all of those at once, because that's just not how my brain works. And I know that's probably going to turn a lot of people off, and that's okay. And I know if I came on here every single week, twice a week, and was just miserable, I wouldn't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And so for, like, it's maybe partially, like, my commitment to, like, this channel and, like, the community building and, like, going live on stream. And, like, yes, today was a great day to do it because they won. I was able to talk a little bit more positively. But of course, there's the comments and they're like, oh, I'm not having faith in this team. which is totally valid. You shouldn't have faith in a team that is 1-5 over their last 6, where they've managed to score less than 3 runs, I think, in all of those games, except for the 10-run explosion against the Pirates in a game that you should have scored 10 runs in. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't like be out on this team. I just personally am not until like the fat lady sings, like until it's done. Until their elimination number is 0, I will still be like, yeah, why not? Because like I don't have any other reason beyond like I don't have like vendettas. I don't have this like vindication of like, oh, like I always knew that they were never gonna win. Why would I want to like subject myself to like that type of fan? Like for me, if that's the way other people do it, that's fine. That's just not how I operate.
Mm-hmm. I found it to be. I have lived and breathed, breathing. I have, as I live and breathe, I have been basically living and dying on whether or not this team wins each and every day for basically since the free fall started on June 18th. And I think that for me specifically, it's not that like obviously I hope the team does well. I want this team to make the playoffs for a multitude of reasons. I'm a fan first and foremost. I love the Mariners. I will go to every single game if I could. If it was in the budget, if I had the chance to go to every single game, I would. I don't have that opportunity. But I try to watch every single game that I can because first and foremost, I'm a fan of this team. Also, it's my job, kind of. I mean, it's not a full-time job for either of us. However, we do this, and when the team plays better, we make more money. Put it out there. Cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag, dude.
When the Mariners do well, our channel does better. Plain and simple. And that's always nice to see. It's always fun when the channel's doing good and not bad. So that's another reason why I want this team to win. And again, I just want for the community, for the fan base, for the team itself, I want them to do well because why wouldn't I? I think that they deserve it. Everybody involved with the Seattle Mariners, except for maybe like Kevin Mather, deserves it. Like they deserve to see this team go on and win a championship. All of us as fans, because we've sat through so much crap over the years. But at the same time, I feel like because I was so heavily invested in the way the games were going, every time they lost, I was just stomping around. I was all cranky. Mm-hmm. I broke my trident.
You did.
And that day specifically, I'm like, as of yesterday, or maybe it was today, like I just felt removed from it a little bit where I could just watch the game. And I talked about it in my video yesterday that I just want to watch the games and enjoy watching baseball and not have to necessarily care about the result. Like, oh, they lost. Oh, well, like that's one of the things that's one of the beauties of spring training. It doesn't matter.
But you can still watch Mariners baseball.
But I can just sit back and watch the game and enjoy watching the guys play ball. And that is on the surface level what I love about the team. I love watching baseball. And when you're so heavily invested into it, it almost takes you out of it a little bit. And of course, it's hard when the team sucks to come on here, like you said, a couple times a week and talk about the team because I feel like you and I specifically have always been the pretty optimistic people. There are the doomers and the gloomers. You and I have always been pretty optimistic about this team. And that's not going to change. Shut up. That's not going to change. I think that we're still, like, again, I'm still optimistic about this team. I think that they have an opportunity to go on a big run. I do. I just don't know if it's too little too late. Like sure. if they go 15-5 in the last 20 games, like just randomly, like that's sick.
Super cool.
I'm pumped. Is it enough? It should be, I hope, but obviously whatever happens until then. But I think that when I look, my little glimmer of hope is when I look at the Rangers last year. They were really good at the start of the year and they were ace the second half. But they got hot the last month or so of the season, made the wild card, won the World Series. This team could do just that. Like you get JP healthy. Julio's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like at the plate, he's looked fine. And like there are some guys, like hopefully Randy can figure it back out. Like hopefully Justin Turner's hitting again. Like we wouldn't be in the situation if they would have figured it out at the start of the year.
Of course.
But they didn't. Mm-hmm. So what choice do we have other than getting a time machine and saying, hey, you suck, So what choice do I have but to root on this team for the rest of the year as they go on to play the Los Angeles Dodgers, Joe? that has basically an entire roster built of MVPs.
Yeah, it's the, the David and Goliath, I guess, conversation about how one, the Mariners have been performing lately, and how good the Dodgers are just like on paper. Are they as good as everyone thought? Me, namely? No, not quite. I had them over like 100 and some odd wins. I think they can't even make that pace now, given the current standings. But yeah, they're 73 and 52, tied for the most wins in all of baseball. It's a good baseball team. Granted, it helps that you can spend $1 billion. Must be nice. And to not to like backtrack off of the Dodgers talk here, but like, does that make me a bad fan for like not like wanting better? Sure, like that could very well be a conversation, like not wanting better. Like I am still rooting for this team as John Stanton has pulled the rug on Jerry DePoto and blah blah blah's finances. I'm still rooting for the team. Like, does that make me a bad fan? In the eyes of some, yeah, and I'm well aware of that. Should I want better for this team? Of course I do. But in the reality in which we live, sometimes me and my world cannot control that. And unfortunately, in Mariners' world, can they really control the outcome against the Dodgers, specifically in Los Angeles? No. No, you can't. And the team has notably played worse on the road all year. You're 37 and 26 at home. You're 27 and 35 away from T-Mobile. You're now facing the Dodgers, who are 38 and 22 at home. Pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. They say. I don't have any say in that. They're just a good team, dude. Okay? It's like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We talked about expectations being low against Paul Skeens in the first game of the Pirates series. Talk about low expectations going into a Dodger series where you are 1-5 on a road trip, man. But why not? Why can't Brian Wu go out and shove against Gavin Stone in the first game? Brian Wu's been excellent pretty much every step of the way, aside from when he has little injury hiccups. And Gavin Stone, young, good pitcher, has had, I mean, he had a complete game shutout, I think, against the White Sox earlier in the year. I mean, it's the White Sox, it is what it is, but then has a random blow-up start. Like, this team is very well-rounded. Michael Kopech's been a great addition to them after the trade deadline. Am I thinking they're going to win this series? No, I don't think so. Do I hope and will I watch the games with that intent? Of course. And Brian Wu versus Gavin Stone, it's a good matchup in game one.
Yeah, I look forward to just seeing how the Mariners match up against one of these teams because it's no secret. They swept the Mets. They took 2 of 3 from the Phillies. The Phillies had the most wins of baseball at the time. The Mariners took 2 of 3 from them. Like, and in my opinion, the Phillies starting pitching is better than the Dodgers starting pitching.
Yeah.
And I think the Phillies bullpen's a lot better than the Dodgers bullpen. With that being said, I mean, you could have the Detroit Tigers pitching in bullpen and beat the Mariners, as we've seen. And so I think that it's a toss. I mean, who the hell knows, right? Like, as I have said a lot, don't get swept. Like, and especially that really rings true against the Dodgers. Find a way to at least win one of these games. Come home with a what would be 2-7 road trip.
It's not good, but it's better than 1-8.
Right. And so do that, come home, face the Giants. But I'm going to get greedy, Joe. I said the Mariners win this series. Because why the hell not?
Because they play better against better teams.
What do they have to lose at this point? They've been ass. Nobody has any expectations for them. What do they have to lose? And I think that going into game 2, Joe, it's going to be an interesting matchup with Bryce Miller on the mound versus Walker Buehler. Buehler's the guy who I think has always been very held in high regard, although he's had a lot of injury history. And Bryce Miller is coming off one of his better starts.
Yeah, Bryce Miller has, I mean, in that last start, beat the road split allegations. Buehler's 30, dude. Like, that's crazy to me that he's
really?
30. Freshly 30, but 30. He's been around for that long. Like, that's just kind of surprising to me. He has had some issues, obviously injuries slowing his career down, causing some bumps in the road. He's got a 5.58 ERA in 9 starts for the Dodgers this year. So if you're looking to maybe take advantage of a matchup, Bryce Miller coming off of a very great start, maybe he builds some confidence, goes into Chavez Ravine and just dominates for another 6-7 innings, and you're able to tag Walker Buehler for a couple before you turn it over to your bullpen. I don't think that it's, I don't know, is it illogical to say that the Mariners win this series? I don't think so. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think you're going to be like, I'm not going to be blown away I guess, if they win this series. Like, I'm hoping that they win this series. You have to. Given how you played earlier on this road trip, you have to win this series to try and keep some sort of pace on the other teams in front of you in the wild card and in the division, right? This matchup specifically, I just I give the pitching advantage to Bryce Miller because Walker Buehler's not been great, and you just have to hope that either the first or the third game goes in your favor. Because I don't want to say I'm penciling in the second game as a win, because there have been numerous times where it's like, oh yeah, that matchup makes sense. So yeah, they'll win this one. Never does. And looking back to last year, they swept us at home in Seattle, which was, I think, a pretty pivotal series. Looking back at that moment, I think it was the beginning of September, where the free fall in August, or the free fall for the Mariners in 2023 kind of started happening all around that same time. We're like, oh, we just need to take 1 out of 3 from the Dodgers and just kind of play with the, figure it out from there. You get swept, you look lifeless. Don't look lifeless heading into Dodger Stadium. Like, that's the last thing you can do. They've talked about how they've kind of changed maybe their hitting strategy a bit, being a bit more aggressive. Julio, after the second game against the Pirates, very vocal frustration, just about like, we have to play better. We have to be more consistent. If there's ever a series to, not want to say shut up the haters, because like one series isn't going to be the defining moment, but one that could end up being a defining moment, it's a series against the billion-dollar franchise Dodgers.
This is a start specifically against Walker Buehler that I think is going to be very interesting, because while he has a 5.58 ERA, I personally think he's still a pretty good pitcher.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think Buehler is great. The fact that Walker Buehler and Jack Flaherty are now on the same baseball team is so weird to me, because those are both guys where at the onset of their career, I was like, those are the next true aces in baseball, was Flaherty and Buehler. And then they both have been, injured, or Flaherty hasn't lived up and whatnot. I think that, like you talked about, the change in the offensive strategy. I mean, I don't know what's taken them so long. It's not like this offense has been good, but we've talked about, when Brant Brown got fired, he got scapegoated, and the offense is fixed now.
It was fixed for like 5 games.
Weird how a coaching staff change doesn't fix things. Who would have guessed? And I think that, this team, they just need to not get in so many deep counts. And I think that Dylan Moore specifically, in that game where he struck out 3 times looking, of those 4 times, that is just something, it cannot happen. You cannot go down looking. And I think that these guys need to be attacking early in counts. It's always been, let's work counts. Let's get deep on this pitcher. And that works out great. But when they start to realize you're doing that, they're going to start throwing, breaking balls and stuff like earlier in counts, and or just fastballs over the middle, because they know that you're going to work counts. Like, you got to get out there and start attacking these guys early. And I think that maybe that's what the Mariners have started to do. And then going into game 3, Joe, it is Jack Flaherty on the mound versus Logan Gilbert, the greatest pitcher of all time,
the GOAT,
who's better than Paul Skeens. Where are you at with this matchup?
Earlier, when you were talking, my mouth was agape. Jack Flaherty's younger than Walker Buehler, which I don't know why that like surprised me so much. They both debuted in 2017. I just thought they were like around the same age, but Buehler's a full year older than him. I don't know why. I just, in my head, Flaherty was like 32.
I was shocked to find out Buehler was 30. So
yeah, it's just a little bit of a difference there. But another great, deadline acquisition that Flaherty was having a great year with Detroit. For obvious reasons, got shipped out, and the Dodgers were like, yeah, give me some of that. I need some of that, because their pitching staff is riddled with injuries. Tyler Glasnow, injured list. I know your fantasy team in the Mariners Creator League is suffering because of it.
God.
But yeah, Flaherty's having
Hunter Green.
Yeah, Hunter Green's a tough one too. But Flaherty's having a great year. 3.06. I'd say his best year of his career outside of 2019, which I think he could continue to work towards that. I don't know if he'd reach those. I'd say like those heights. He had a 2.75 back in 2019. But yeah, with the Dodgers, the world is Jack Flaherty's oyster at this point. But like you said, the GOAT is on the opposite side of him here. Logan Gilbert, I'd say, dueled well with Paul Skeens. I think he can out-duel Jack Flaherty in this one. Like, I like the way that the pitching matchups kind of lined up here for the Mariners. I think it gives them the best chance to win 2 out of 3 on an optimistic side. right? This Dodgers team is not to be messed with. Obviously, Mookie Betts is back. Like Shohei Ohtani exists. Like he is there. I'm sure the Teoscar Revenge series is going to go crazy. Like there's plenty of storylines in this one where the Mariners should and likely will be counted out, right? Like it's bound to happen. But that final game on Wednesday, it's a night game heading into an off day. It'll be a good pitching matchup that I hope lives up to the hype. I'd say Skeens and Gilbert like didn't necessarily reach that's the absolute cinema maybe we were expecting, but I think Flaherty and Gilbert will be a good one, Colton.
Yeah, I think that it only would have been better if I'm glad the Mariners are missing Kershaw because the Hall of Fame curveball that he has
against a lefty one specifically against this Mariners ineptitude. My God,
game.
yeah, no, it's over. It's chalked.
But yeah, I think that all of like the starting pitching matchups, Skubal versus Kirby, for the most part, none of them have been as interesting as we thought they would be. Like just like dueling, like the Bryce Miller and who was it
Max
from the Braves? Max Fried. They were both like perfect through like 6 or something like that, or like 7. That was cinema. Like, and then the walk-off from Garver, that game was cinema. I was depressed during that game. Oh my God. Sitting there was so cold. Nonetheless, I think that because you have Gilbert on the mound in that game, I give it to the Mariners. I think that'll be a low-scoring affair. It's just so hard when you are facing a team as star-studded as the Dodgers. But if any pitching staff can do it, it's the Seattle Mariners pitching staff. I would trust no pitching staff more than the Mariners pitching staff in this series. And I think it's pretty obvious why. The bullpen, not so much. The bullpen since the All-Star break is like the 27th worst in baseball.
Gross.
Like the Mariners bullpen's been ass since the All-Star break.
It's not what you want to hear going into a series against the Dodgers, dude.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily know if I didn't get a chance to see if Freddie Freeman played today that we're recording this. I know that he did get pulled out of the game after getting hit in the finger on a play at first base. But yeah, like you said, Mookie Betts is back. Shohei Ohtani's looking to be the either 5th or 6th member of the 40-40 club. He might join it literally this week, like against the Mariners, which I guess would be kind of cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I look at this series and it's really scary before the Mariners are getting ready to head back home to take on the Giants. But at the same time, the entire NL West has been really good. The Mariners have a chance to just do the funniest thing ever
and just somehow win against like some of the best teams in baseball. Yeah,
just sweep the Dodgers. And like all of a sudden the Diamondbacks are in first place and D-backs dojo lives on. That's last year.
That is the spirit that we need. I will say Dave Roberts said today he cannot see Freeman playing Monday.
Double U.
Given his injury. So we probably don't see Freddie on game 1, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of it for Mr. Frederick.
Yeah, that's a very scary lineup for the Mariners to be facing. A lot of good lefties in there. But we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. That's going to do it for us here on episode 114 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by Bet Online, the Andrew Schoengarth episode of the podcast. And go Mariners.